So yeah, my name's Chloe. I'll be your moderator today. So you can call me C or you can call me Chloe. It's up to you. Yes, the wonderful Robbo Ranx has expressed how important this event is today. I speak on behalf of all of Hakeem's team, as well as the panelists and the artists when I say thank you guys for making an effort to show up in support of such a worthy cause. So thank you. So give a round of applause for yourself, guys. We are here with an esteemed panel. Mr. Kwame, the legend that is. Miss Ray Sewell. Hi, nice to meet you, my lovely. Keisha Ellis.
Big up Keisha.
And the one and only Mr. Shawnee B. Thank you, guys. So, guys, if you don't know who they are, I don't know, you've been living underneath a rock. But they are very, very integral staples of the culture. So, yeah, we're going to get stuck in with some conversation. And, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. So, the first thing that I want to say is just some information. So, Hurricane Melissa is the strongest storm in Jamaican history to date, devastating communities across the island. With more than 1.9 million people affected, families are still trapped or unidentified, living in the makeshift shelters due to flooding and in need of basic supplies and a safe place to reside. To support the people of Jamaica affected by Hurricane Melissa, the Sean Paul Foundation, in conjunction with Jamaica's Food for the Poor charity, has assisted All Access Areas and Rekodi Publishing in presenting to you Rebuilding Jamaica. So, we're going to start with Mr. Shawnee B. Radio presenter, international DJ, remixer, label owner, and award-winning producer, sir.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. When did your journey begin, and what are some of the musical and cultural influences that have inspired you along the way?
Well, I'm 51 years of age presently, and I started DJing when I was about 14. It's been a continuous journey from that time, and I have to say, when I started DJing, I was like a hip-hop DJ. I used to love like Public Enemy, Ultramagnetic MCs, all that kind of stuff, Eric B and Rakim. But it was when I met two Jamaican youths on my block. So my bedroom window used to face out onto this door, and there were certain activities used to go on over that yard. But whilst I was there, my training, mixing and all the rest of it, I was just intrigued by these guys. Now, I grew up in a Jamaican household. My mum's Jamaican, my father's Dominican. But these youths on the corner, they heard what I was doing in my bedroom, and they heard me scratching and mixing at the time. And this was like 1988, 1989, around when Stone Love kind of became very popular with the juggling term. And they were like, yo, if you can do that with hip-hop, you could definitely do that with dancehall. And it was just their influence of the music at the time, teaching me about like Sanchez, Wayne Wonder, like the early days of those kind of artists as well. But just the lifestyle as well. So I never went to Jamaica until like the year 2000, because like family issues and all the rest of it. But when I went to Jamaica, everybody thought I grew in Jamaica, but it was these two youths. One of them, I kind of built the whole One Extra thing with Wingy in Jamaica, and it was like one man eat, every man eat. So you'll go out on a Friday, you'll get a box food, you'll tear the box food in half, every man scoop out this, that, the other. I lived to see like people in Jamaica on a Friday get a box of Kentucky and share a wings of chips, this, that, the other. And I think it's just that vibe of Jamaica. There's something unique, especially about Caribbean culture, but I can definitely say about Jamaican culture, where it's probably one of the hardest cultures to live in, especially growing up in a Jamaican household. Like, you have to be loud to kind of like stand out. But then there's that love that Jamaica has. And I think it's kind of hard to explain, to know that once a Jamaican start cuss, there's a certain level of cussing. But even with my mother, I would always say, I said at my mum's funeral, that if my mother never cuss you, she never love you. You get me? And it's that love that Jamaica has. And I think that's kind of what's inspired me and motivated me on my journey through what I do right now, and continues me on that journey to kind of show people that, yeah, Jamaica's got that hard, rough side, I think the word is for Jamaica, family. There's something about family and Jamaica, and that's kind of what I try to put out there.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, I hear it. So, 10 years of dancehall, of One Xtra. What does that mean to you as a musical veteran in the industry and someone who has watched the culture evolve?
It's more than 10 years of dancehall on One Xtra. You have to big up Robbo Ranx. So the slot that I'm doing right now on a Thursday, Robbo was the original of that slot. And actually on Thursday, I thought about it, it's like 23 years of One Xtra dancehall on a Thursday. And what One Xtra, Robbo, Ray Paul, and myself, Silver Star, Young Lion, and others have done, I think that we brought a certain level of editorial to dancehall and reggae music. So when there was nobody covering things like Sting, Robbo was out in Sting. I remember when it was, I'm sure he can tell the story, but when it was Cartel versus Ninja Man, I remember Robbo ringing me on the morning, on Boxing Day morning. It's like, you should be here. And I could hear the bottles whistling by. You get what I'm saying? But that's what One Xtra brought to Caribbean music and black music overall, but definitely Jamaican music. And I have to big up Robbo again on that, that level of the interviews that we was doing, the way that we was covering the content. It wasn't just about the vibes, the heavy bass line, the jerk chicken, the wine and all the rest of it. We kind of dug deeper, and because we had the resources and the skill set at the BBC, Kwame as well, like that's where he started at his journey, and we all learned how to use those resources that we had to be able to uplift the music even more, and hopefully we've done that.
Nice. And I want to give you your flowers as well, because you definitely have been putting in the work for the culture for a very, very long time. I remember I used to go to Palace Pavilion in Hackney, and I used to see you doing your thing, Soca vs. Bashment. Yeah. And I don't even think I was meant to be in there.
They banned me from that clash, guys. Clark the Soca man. You Clark them Chloe. I was Clark them Shorty at the time. Trust me, we went hard for the culture, yeah, for real.
Yeah, but so yeah, you've definitely been putting in the work. So yeah, man, you deserve all of the flowers that you're getting now and all the recognition that you're receiving. Well deserved.
Appreciate it, thank you.
When you heard about Hurricane Melissa, how did it affect you personally, and what is the current feeling from the communities affected over there? Because I know that you've been in Jamaica a lot recently, and yeah. What's the kind of feel at the moment?
The oddest thing is myself, Robbo, again, we was on Jamrock Cruise, and it was meant to go to Jamaica that week. If we had gone to Jamaica, we would have got to Jamaica the Wednesday morning after the hurricane, and we ended up going to Mexico. And there was trauma on the boat, real talk, because a lot of people, when you're on the Jamrock Cruise and you're out in the middle of the sea, there's no Wi-Fi unless you're spending like $25, $30 a day. That's quite expensive, and a lot of people had to do it. So I remember I was doing like a panel like this on the day, and people was like, we need information. We need information. Now, my executive producer from BBC long time ago, Ray Paul's now my manager, he was there. I was like, Ray, get on the case, like, get some form of information for the people. And I remember being on the stage announcing that the hurricane had hit Jamaica with like 180-mile-per-hour winds or whatever it was at the time. And I remember on the stage with at least 2,000 people out on the deck, I heard everybody gasping. And that touched me wickedly. And then in the day, you heard I saw people physically crying because they can't get hold of their people, all the rest of it. And even coming back, that cruise that year, people enjoyed themselves for what it was, but it was very subdued. It was so different, you know what I'm saying? And I remember probably one of my biggest forwards, because you have to do your job at the end of the day when you're on a cruise. People have spent £4,000 or £5,000 to go on a cruise. And one of the biggest forwards I got on that cruise is when I was like, people, how many people would tie up the captain right now? I tell him, take that boat here to Montego Bay, go out, help Jamaica. And it was the biggest forward that night on the cruise. And that's the way that kind of affected people. We've all seen how everybody got like hands on decks, all the rest of it. When we got back to England after the cruise, I was in a bit of a daze. I had to catch up to see what was going on. I hadn't really seen the hurricane. And I did a series of interviews that week for my show. And I remember just sitting in my studio. I was dazed for about 30 minutes because it's real life. And thankfully, a lot of my family are more closer to Kingston in St. Andrew, but then I spoke to people in Mobay and all the rest. I spoke to Savannah, I spoke to selectors out there and all the rest of it, and you can hear the trauma. And I remember speaking to my uncle when Hurricane Maria hit Dominica, and he was like, Shawnee, the people are going through it. I heard a big man cry, and it was very similar, again, in Jamaica, that you hear big men and big women cry and all the rest of it. Is like, it was so hard. Unfortunately, I was in Jamaica in February, but I was actually sick the day that I was meant to go to St. Elizabeth to go and cover some stuff. But I spoke to my friend that was down there, Red Man, that used to work at Dub Vendor in Labrador Grove, one of the guys that kind of like helped me in my journey as a kid. And I saw him and he looked like he lost a lot of weight. And he was like, Shawnee, there was no food down here. So that I look like this right now because I've lost so much muscle because there was just no food. So we do have to continue keeping our hands on deck and making sure that this situation doesn't disappear. Because just like Robbo said, the devastation is still out there. The amount of houses that were like torn apart, like that kind of level of construction, tools, everything that is needed out there, we continue to have to kind of do it right now and not just think about when it happened so many months ago.
Thank you. And yeah, this is why events like this are so important. So shout out again to Hakeem for creating something that's so worthy. Yeah, we appreciate it. So, Mr. Kwame, producer, musician, presenter, and radio DJ. Your journey began in the early 90s as a DJ playing hip-hop, R&B, and reggae music. And as an African man, sir, what was it about Jamaican music that gravitated towards you? And how has it impacted and influenced other genres of music over the years?
Yeah, first of all, always honored and privileged to be in the house of Jamaican music, specifically as it pertains to reggae and dancehall music. It's an honor and a joy for someone who's of Ghanaian descent, as myself. Now, how do I come to discover this music? To be honest with you, it starts in the 80s. So I went to secondary school in Ghana, boarding school, and the rebellious music of the time, in my time, which would be like from 1983 upwards, was the reggae music. The reggae music was the weed music. The reggae music was the political music. The reggae music was the music your parents did not want you to listen to. And that's what rocked with us through your Burning Spears and your Black Uhurus and your Aswads and so many artists and groups over the years. And what used to happen was labels like Island and Virgin Records, they would press up their cassettes and have heavy distribution in West Africa, particular areas like Accra, Ghana, Nigeria, Lagos, through to Kenya, Cameroon. So these are the records that we would buy and listen to ourselves as kids. And eventually you start to rock with the music and it begins to penetrate you in such a way that you actually begin to feel and love it and begin to grow. It begins to affect your personality and your way in thinking. So for example, I learned way more about Africa and its people and its leaders through reggae music than I did through anything in school in Ghana. Do you know what I mean? So it was very informative. So there's a whole generation of us who walked that walk and got inspired by this music to become the people we are today. Fast forward present day, in terms of its influence, I returned to the UK for my university education sometime circa the early 90s. So I've got a bug to be a music producer by this time. There was a guy called Danny D. I don't know if anybody knows Danny D. He had a song called Acid back in the day. Legend. He's a Ghana youth. And I used to see that man in the ends. And I come back to the UK now, and my man's on top of the pops with Jerichos and everything and Oli Pattings. I go on. I'm like, rah, I want to do that. We can do that. So I then start to follow that journey and path. Like, how do you actually do that? How do you get in a studio? This is a time when the technology wasn't there, and it wasn't so easy to go studio and make records. But I found a way, kind of like got into it and got into the UK garage scene, and all the types of UK garage songs that I would make would be like the reggae influence ones. And I've seen the music in terms of its influence on UK music start from the very beginnings to present day, because all of the subgenres from your hardcore through your jungle, your drum and bass, your dubstep, even your UK funkies and UK garage, there's always that bass element to it, which is directly derivative from the sound system culture and so on and so forth. So even in places where it's not really obvious that the music is there, like house music is still a bass music, do you know what I mean? It's still bass driven, so the influence is just far and wide. And I love music so much. I like many styles of music, but the one that I feel like I could bother myself to get up and do a weekly radio show and have the passion for it and really want to still discover it and find out about it and meet the artists, etc., and interview them, has got to be the reggae and the dancehall vibe, you know what I mean? As looking at my career moving forward into later years, like, it's not easy to do radio 2 days a week. Once a week with a commitment on a specialist subject focus requires time and energy, and you need the music to get you there to deliver what you do. So for me, it's all about reggae and dancehall, yeah.
Wicked. So Sugar Shack, West London, 1993.
Jeez.
That was the record shop you founded.
Yeah.
And then you later formed Baby Shack Recordings in 1994,
Yeah.
is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to us a little bit about how monumental and how culturally relevant record shops were during that time, and why they're so culturally important.
Record shops in the 90s coming up were like #1 community hubs. So people would gravitate around the styles of music they liked in these spaces where you could call them original type of coffee shops, and community members would meet. So if you're in like a black-based area like Brixton, this would probably be organically happening. I'm in Hounslow with my record shop. The black community was not the biggest community, so we'd all congregate around this space to get into the music and therefore attract other cultures in to see what we were doing. It was really important because at the time, the economy of independent black music was building stronger. This economy begins with the arrival of the 12-inch single. With the increase of the 12-inch single, other subgenres like hardcore, jungle, etc., producers and people from the ends begin to make the music for themselves and discover record plants and the process of, you know, cutting lacquers, etc., etc. So it becomes a very independent sort of thing you can do. And through the explosion of these 12-inch singles, people like myself who were a little bit industrious with it began to open record stores where you could buy this music, which wasn't music that was readily available in the mainstream high street stores, and definitely not available when you as a DJ would want that music. So these stores, and there was countless of them, literally every end had one or two even. Ours was in Hounslow, West London. It was Sugar Shack. From the Sugar Shack experience, we literally moved into a store and occupied the downstairs bit. Then in about a year or so, we occupied the upstairs bit, opened a studio, rented out some space, had bare things going on. So you're learning about the industry and you're forming community, and you're also being very creative as well, because anyone who could rap, sing, do dance or whatever would come to where we were, and then we'd engage in making music. So a lot of the early music that was made on the garage set was just literally just us messing around upstairs and, you know, let's try a bit of this and let's try a bit of that, you know, and listen to that record in the shop downstairs, and the American one, it's got the B-side banging and the dub's really, really mad. Let's just copy that kick drum and just repattern that and see how it sounds like. And then because the environment was ready for the 12-inch singles, we began to have success. Hence our record label, Baby Shack Recordings, was born, and hence I got the bug for actually putting out music. And once you get into that mode, you can't stop. It's forever. I know doctors, lawyers, accountants, they're still trying to rap, they're still trying to sing. Do you know what I mean? You cannot stop. It literally is a bug, and it's a great way to express yourself creatively, so always very happy for it.
Yeah, I remember being really young, and I grew up in North London in Tottenham, and we had body music. I don't know if any of you guys remember that, but that was an exciting place for me to be with, like, my parents or my older cousins and stuff, going in there, and it felt like home. It felt like community.
Definitely. And the beauty of it, the thing I used to like the most was when we'd make our records, we'd literally drive around all the record shops distributing the records. Sometimes we go far, Birmingham, Manchester, etc., and give out these records. So you'd meet so many people, and you'd see the community forming. Like you'd link a DJ and get to know people.
That's how I knew of Ras. I used to go and sell records at his record shop.
Yes, big league. Oh my God, that guy. The amount of vinyl.
Take cab and put a record over your shoulder and a record back.
And it was a beautiful thing because we had an independent economy, and you could just do that and live within music, within black music, within the UK. So the evolution of the streaming and the CD, etc., just really, really killed the buzz, man.
Yeah, that was going to be sort of like my next question to both of you, actually, as vets in the industry. How do you kind of navigate through that space of the streaming world that we're now in, and how has that impacted, I guess, music and the way we receive music and our relationship to the music?
I'm always going to be sounding like an old guy. There's nothing like a record shop. There's nothing like standing up in a record shop and knowing that the guy behind the counter has only got 10 copies, and there may be 15 men in that record shop, and it's a new Beanie Man or a new Bounty Killer. You've got to hear like the first 5 seconds and make that decision and go, you want one. Because if you miss it that week, it may never, ever, ever come back. And then the other side of it is you go in that, I was going in record shops since I was I used to sell sandwiches at school. Let's go record shop. And you go there and you start by buying like 10 copies, and then you kind of graduate, you get a box. And then you may get to go under the counter, and that's like being like a made man, like, yo, you're that guy. And then you may see your records up on the wall. So like the record shop, as he said, that was like the coffee shop for all of us. And I met R.I.P. to DJ Swing. I met DJ Swing the first time I met Robbo Ranx. Like, I remember the day I met Robbo Ranx in Dub Vendor, a record shop. I'd flattened Luton Carnival. Robbo had heard about it, and we was talking about it, and he says, I thought it was Crucial Robbie, who is now Robbie from Arsenal Football TV. He thought it was that Robbie because we was both fat at the time. I was like, nah, it was me, Robbo. And that's how I became friends with Robbo. So like that place, like the record shop for us, that was like church, real talk.
Yeah, man, yeah. Miss those days. And you're aging backwards. Definitely aging backwards, sir.
Thank you.
Shout out to you. So the second half of this conversation, we're going to dedicate it to the powerhouse of the women in the industry. So, ladies, you're don't be shy. So yeah, first of all, can we just give a round of applause to the women making moves in the industry? Miss Ray Sewell.
Yeah.
Did I say it correctly? Right? Ree Sewell.
Yeah, like bad girl, Riri.
Love that. Senior Artist and Label Relations Manager for SoundCloud. Mm-hmm. Grammy Award winning A&R. Mm-hmm. Senior Artist and Label Relationship Manager and Music Exec. Mm-hmm. So, for those who don't know what your role entails, can you shed some light a little bit?
I just do my best. No, I'm joking. So, well, working for SoundCloud, and I think maybe just with my background in music, because I have always done A&R in music as well from early teenage years pretty much, and just kind of fell into music, just family, out of the love and everything, which I'll get into in a little bit. At SoundCloud, I try to discover people on platform and support them with growing their creator community, being a bit more daring, trying to, get their name out there. So supporting them with how to grow it, but also how to like nurture it and engage with their community as well, not limiting themselves, especially in the emergent stages of their artistry. Take those chances, take those risks. Let's see what, repurpose some of the things that you're not using. So an example of that is being, I'd say, most people in here know what a hard drive is. I might just refer to it as like a Lacey, yeah? So So loads of people, like loads of artists on their laces have like these unreleased music, these unofficial versions, these edits, these version ones, demos, all of this that they just never use, like once the track is finished. And it's like your core fans, people that love that song, they want to hear what it was like. That, like, I love, as Kwame said, genuinely love music. I would not be in this industry. It's not that nice. Like, I wouldn't be in this industry if I didn't love music. Like, I genuinely wouldn't be here. Because, and I must be the passion, because like, what else? Like, literally. So, like, I'm just trying to open a lot of artists' eyes to what they can be using, so there's not that fatigue, and supporting them with the tools and features, understanding the tools and features on SoundCloud specifically. But because of my love for this, it doesn't like end at SoundCloud. Like, I will support them with what they could be doing on other platforms to help inform how to like expand the campaign and increase just their visibility, and just, yeah. That's like what I do at SoundCloud. And I go around the country and Europe to teach people how to use the platform. On SoundCloud specifically, it did create like a rhythm challenge as well, for the love, for the culture, for music, because that's how we, like, that is Caribbean culture through and through. Like, and obviously, namely Jamaica. I'm also Jamaican, and both my parents were born there as well. And yeah, I was actually born a Jamaican citizen, fun fact, because of the Immigration Act, even though I was born in Lewisham Hospital. But, you know, so I had a Jamaican passport before I even had a British one, before I haven't even gone there. But yeah, love British laws. They've been fuckery from time. But, sorry, we can swear, innit? My bad. Yeah, I'm a bit colourful with my language at times. Sorry. So yeah, that's what I do. So I create like, things on platform. I made sure like to bring the Caribbean and Afro beats playlist back, because I was like, there's no way I'm working for somewhere and it doesn't have adequate representation of the communities that I identify with. There's no way. I've done that. I've left jobs. Sometimes I've been mad. Like, I put my life on the line all the time, because I'm just not trying to do it. I got a strong moral compass, like daughter of a Rasta man. So yeah, it's been, you're born an activist. Like, yeah, I didn't choose this life. Yeah, like, so that's what I do at SoundCloud.
Nice. And your role is really integral, because there are so many artists that don't have the information, who don't know what they're doing or how to even use these tools and navigate these spaces. So I think obviously what you're doing is really empowering them and is really helping them. And like you said, I guess you wouldn't do it if you weren't passionate, but I guess the impact that you're making is monumental. So yeah, I
think just working in the industry for as long as, like, I've got many years of me, but even from what I've seen before joining it, like, professionally, it's actually just a knowledge gap. There's just a massive knowledge gap. But they always said, if you want to put if you don't want black people to know something, put it in a book. So it's like, I remember growing up hearing that, just thinking that is so wild. And I always loved reading, so I was always like, not me though, you know what I mean? So I said, well, if them can't read it, me I gotta read it and make sure them know. So that's always been like my thing. I like to teach, I like to help, I like to support people that don't know, and the only reason why they don't know is because they might not have come across that information, not because they didn't look for it. But yeah, so
let me ask you, because I know that, I think going off of the point that you made about the knowledge not being accessible, or artists not really necessarily taking the time to go and look and study the kind of mechanisms of what the industry is and how it's run. What, outside of it obviously just being in textbooks, because we're in 2026 now and there is information out there, what do you think is the reason why artists are not looking at the business so much and looking at the sort of like mechanisms of it? And I'm sure, Kisa, you could probably answer this as well, because I've found in my experience working with artists as well, is that they're fixated on just simply being the talent, and there are so many other elements to it. It's a whole infrastructure, and they don't really understand the mechanisms of how it works. And what is the stumbling block? What do you think the main reasons are behind that?
I think it's because the industry, like, when it started with mafia bosses, like real life, like real loan sharks, like real dodgy, shady characters. They didn't want you to know how to do this on your own. They wanted you to be reliant on them. So I think it's a historic, like, archaic like belief the artist is just supposed to be the artist. Like we've come a long way since that. Not saying there's not still big elements and you know that still exists. Like a lot of those structures are hard to deteriorate, to take down, to infiltrate, because they've made it so robust. Over time.
I'll add on that as well, that in terms of artists, a lot of the time just wanting to be the creative, they don't understand how many streams are within the system that they can gain money from. The amount of various ways that you can gain money and royalties is a thing. So a lot of the time they're going to go for live because that's instant money. Publishing is long-term money. A lot of the time they call it the pension money. So therefore you're going to go with what you can get first, right? And that, I think, a lot of the time has to do with there being the knowledge gap. Not sure of where to find that information, but I know that in this day and age a lot of artists are now seeking the knowledge. They are going out and looking for it. They are interested in knowing more. So I think that is a first step.
And them just being like, there's more to just, I think now, I don't know the percentages because I doubt a lot of artists who do manage themselves even like put it out there as much, because they'll have like fake A-listers, but it's way more common than it has ever been for artists to manage their entire business. And people don't like to call it that, but that's what it is. Like, they're managing their business. They are a brand, a business owner. Like, the money they make is a business. And like Kesia said, there's different elements and different streams of income for that business and different departments, essentially, which has historically been run by departments of people that people are now having to manage themselves, and they're just educating themselves on the fly. But it's not a bad thing, and I'm just glad that there's a lot of different platforms that can support that. Like, we're using social media in a different way. Like, they didn't want us to be educating ourselves on social media. That's what we're doing. So yeah, definitely.
The industry body UK Music conducted a report titled Black Music Means Business, revealing that black music has generated 80% of the UK's recorded music revenue over the past 3 decades, contributing 24.5 billion out of the total 30 billion in the recorded music market, with dubstep and lovers rock contributing 1.24 billion. So this is a question for maybe everybody, whoever wants to take it. What are your thoughts on how Jamaican music has contributed to the rise?
What are my thoughts on Jamaican music contributing to the rise? I mean, we're in everything like salt anyway, so it's like my thoughts on it is that I'm not surprised. Like, I think they always said, and I hate to bring it back here because it's morbid and obviously, like in words of Jar Digger, the PTSD, but we're obviously always aware of like slavery. They always said the Jamaicans were the rebellious ones. So it's like we've always fought against against the grain, like what we should be doing. So I think the political stance, a rebellious nature, like the community spirit, and just talking about things that are super relatable is what's, inspired generations of people, of music, of everything. So it's kind of like, what music exists without the Jamaican influence? Like Selena Gomez, one of her biggest tracks was I can't remember what the sample was, but it's Jamaican. Like, there's everything. Like, it's a bit hard to even see it as. I remember seeing a stat with lovers rock and dubstep being like separated, and I'm just like, I mean, can you really separate the Jamaican influence from the 24.5 billion? Because
you see, the thing is, if you don't understand the music and where the music comes from and the linkage and lineage of the music, then you're gonna be completely lost.
Yeah.
So I know the guy that put together the report, and I saw him at the mobiles the other day, and I asked him how much of the community, and not the bubble, but the community was involved in that report. Because that's a lot of money on the table right there. And I think about lick up on table dances. I think about all of that and how much of that is contributed or is part of that report. Because there's parts of our community that is not being audited.
So undocumented.
Do you get what I'm saying? So, and they're not involved in the conversation. Because especially when it comes to reggae and dancehall, there's Robbo, there's Ras, here's myself, many others inside this room right now. But when there's like industry events and parties going on, imagine we're not invited to the table. So who's invited to the table? And who's the ones that are taking like the wins off of all our hard work, all the years that we've put in?
The 24.5 billion.
Well, there you go.
All now my car 18 million yet, sir. Where's it gone?
That's the bubble that I'm talking about. And I would like to see my community more involved, even though I'm on BBC Radio, but I do come from these streets, from around here, you know what I'm saying? So I would like to see a lot of more of these faces involved in Wagwan within this bubble that many of us coexist as well.
Just to add to that, I really think it would be really cool if we could see like the community come together itself and us organise for ourselves, because it was like that back in the day, in the record shop day. There was a bunch of independent labels, and there was a lot of like, you know, cultural positioning in a way where we didn't need anyone else like that. Do you know what I mean? But when the thing becomes on a government level and you need a government to regulate or empower you, it's almost like you give the power away. And we've never been satisfied with this position. Anyone could have said that, boy, our thing's the massive contribution. There, can't you see that? Do you know what I mean? Apart from anyone from the outside. And it's really irritating when you find these platforms come with these reports and da-da-da-da. Big up Ammo Eunice, the whole of the gang, whatever. It was really necessary. Ironically, I'd asked Ammo that question the week before, like, yo, UK music, what's the percentage of the black people thing in this thing? Because that's what I wanted to know. And like Shawnee says, it should go down to community level, not just on a level where, oh, it's some statistics and percentages and there's no real follow-up situation for that, and all we can do is sit down and vent. Do you know what I mean? And just to add before Robbo comes in, to the question of the influence of the Jamaican music in the thing, fam, the Jamaican music is the one. I'm a music guy. I rate myself for my ability to know and understand music. I've been a music producer. I've done bare styles from house. I've even done rock, and etc., etc. And what really glues me to the reggae and dancehall thing is the quality of the Jamaican artist in a performance. I.e., here's the rhythm, 5 minutes later, that's the song. Americans come a near second to it, but not very close. But when it comes to the Jamaican music, the creativity and the level of talent is just wild. Do you know what I mean? And I'm drawn to that. So I believe that is one of the leading musical styles. Otherwise, I wouldn't be with it, to be fair. Yeah.
Just adding to what Ras just said. Natural talent, that's always been about reggae. It couldn't exist if you didn't have natural talent. The studios in Jamaica from the 70s and 80s are high profile, highly equipped studios. We were going down to Tough Gong back in the early 2000s, and even then, the spec in those studios were like A grade. And yeah, fair enough, it was Bob Marley's studio, but A grade. So to spend 30 minutes trying to work out a song, they ain't gonna run. You got 3 minutes. They can actually hear how talented you are, your key, your pitch, your cadence, your style, your energy. It was about delivering. And because it was let's just say it's a cottage industry, we don't have the time and we don't have the resources, and we don't have none of those things. The professionalism right across the board, people point fingers at the culture, reggae. But we're all experienced with all styles of music. We have people of their professional standards are on the floor. Doesn't matter if it's grime, rap, drill, hip hop. So things that people use to beat the music, we can go on about it all day long. But that fact, that stat is an amazing amount of money. We're here talking about rebuilding Jamaica. We're like the proceeds here. Big up Bamson just reminded me. Food for the Poor is a charity that's been around in Jamaica for a little while, but it's obviously got a lot of attention because of obviously Hurricane Melissa and the damage it done on the island. Could you imagine some of the money that was put into the music, or should I say taken out of the music, where myself, a Ras, a Ree, a Shawnee could go out and say, well, here what we're going to do from our own pockets? Because I mean, that's what we're doing essentially here. Keisha, we're all doing this out of our own time, our own love, but imagine we could do it with money. And that's been a problem in the music for the best part of, I've been in it around for over 30 years, and it's always been that problem. And stats and facts are nice, and that's a lovely amount of money. But the business side of it has always been shafted and shortchanged. And that essentially is the story of reggae. But we move on and we keep rebuilding.
I just wanted to add to the what Shawnee was saying, actually. So I was part of the data in that report. I was on the music publishing roundtable for that. So to discuss where money possibly is going, the impact of black music overall, and because everyone knows me to deal heavily with reggae and dancehall music, I was part of that table, and it really demonstrated the difference between indies as independent companies and in the majors, and how they handle black music overall. And again, it goes back to the idea of understanding where subgenres come from and the cultural changes, because we have obviously reggae and dancehall, etc., but then to think of the bass culture that comes with that, then you've got your grime, etc., and a lot of it stems from Jamaican music. So we also incorporated that into the report. I know they broke down some of the different genres that are within black music, and that is what made up the whole mass of their black music means business.
Yeah, thank you for that. So that's a good segue, so I can give you your proper introduction. Miss Kesia Ellis, founder of Rekodi Music. So your Rekodi music company is a publishing company. You are a curator, and please, I just want for everybody in the audience, Kesia is doing big things. So I don't want to tell them what you do. I'm going to let you do that, but it's exciting because essentially what you are doing is giving the power back to the artists. And just going off of what we were talking about before, about the literature and the information, this is really where you are helping artists to empower themselves. You're not just providing a service to them, but you're giving them the tools in order for them to be self-sufficient and independent. So can we just give a round of applause to Kesia for that? So can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you arrived at creating Rekodi Publishing?
Okay. Yes, so my new name is Alicia. What do you call me, Robbo?
Keisha.
That's a new one. It's usually Keisha, and that's the pet name that Dad gave me, so you'll hear that, even though I'm not a fan of it. My name's Kesia.
I knew I was right.
What do you mean?
Daddy used to call it that.
So I really started my journey. Obviously, my dad is Alton Ellis, legendary Alton Ellis OD, Order of Distinction. And growing up around him and always being on tour, I would see and witness the journey of a musician. And how they had to deal with their intellectual property and wanting to understand where things had gone wrong. And it was that vulnerability that I leaned into and wanted to know more. And alongside that, I've been a classically trained pianist from age 7. So I've been wanting to know the creative side as well as the business side. But growing into that, I realized that I really wanted to know more about the business, because I could see that there's a legacy here, there's something to know, intellectual property is key. And I went on to study music business. I then went on to University of Westminster. I even studied at ICMP here, and really wanted to identify the gap that everyone talks about, this huge knowledge gap. And with that, I worked at the Universals, the Sonys, all that you could think of, then ended up at an independent publishing company. Was there for 6.5 years, really just understanding everything within the system of music publishing. And it felt like home because it brought the two sides together, the creative side as well as the business side, and allowed me to understand copyright. And from there, I really thought, okay, this is time for me to move. There was nowhere to go other than to make it myself. And Dad would always say, kick down the door. If there's no door, walk through it, go through, do your thing. So that was kind of my focus, and I thought, let's start Rekodi Music Publishing. And with that, it's really been the hub of expressing and allowing creatives to understand the DIY that we're in now. Everyone's doing it yourself. There's all these different elements that you're having to learn on the go. So with that, I'm really cold, so you can hear the shiver in my voice. I'm so cold. Turn down the AC, please. I'm gonna light the coal. So yeah, it's with that, I've been going back and forth to Jamaica, signing talent in terms of as a music publisher, I deal with writers, so I don't really use the word artists because then it confuses people when you're talking about the record label side and the publishing side. So I sign writers and producers. A lot of the time we go between author, composer. And with that, it was the idea of giving them space to create as well. We have so many publishing companies that go to Jamaica, take up the administrative work, but don't allow for the creative element to be a progressive thing. So I always thought I want to create a songwriter room, make this space where people can go and create together. And we know so many artists, and once you call one, 25 of them will come. You know, so that was a thing. We've got Yard and Abroad songwriter residencies that we do every February in Jamaica during Reggae Month, and it's the thing that we want to keep pushing and keep going. So anyone that wants to be involved, come talk to me after. So that's one thing that we do. We've also now started the Music Publishing Academy in collaboration with Young Music Boss, as well as ELAM School. So it's all about training up those that are in the 16 to 25 range to know more about music publishing. Many people have no knowledge at all, don't even know the difference between the 2 copyrights that you can have in one song. So it's that information that we want to put out there. We're doing lots more as well, but yes, we're open to collaborating and working with people because we know that this is a people's business and you need more people to grow. As well as that, we just love reggae and dancehall, full stop.
Love that. So, if possible, can you kind of discuss a little bit about the parallels and the differences between black music industry in the UK and the infrastructure of the industry in Jamaica?
Yes. Okay. So the parallels. I think there's...
Sorry, I know it's loaded, but...
I would definitely say both regions have a lot of similarities in terms of how they create. It's very much that space of we're coming together, we're just going to collab, we're going to jam, we're going to make something together. But then it's after that what happens. Where's the infrastructure in terms of how people are growing in Jamaica? Whereas over here, you've got you can walk into a Sony or a Warner, etc. Tell me which label you can walk into in Jamaica that has a house or a space where you can actually just walk into and say, I want to know more. And I think that's where the parallels are in terms of the infrastructure. Back in the day, it was always the producers that held the realm of this, you know, for Jamaica particularly. Whereas over here, a lot of the time people will say it's the label that holds the space. So it's those different infrastructures. I can go into it a bit more, but we'll be here all day. But yeah, I think those are the key things that I would point out.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you.
Can I just add something to that? And I don't know what Ras and Robbo would say to this, but I think you ladies, especially the UK ladies, have added something to this industry that I don't think any of us have been able to do. Because I've seen you, I've seen Cara, I've seen Marla Brown. You guys have come and finessed the industry in a certain manner. You get what I'm saying? I feel that the artists actually listen to you guys more than they listen to us. Because to see you go to Jamaica and to put on the kind of camp that you do, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's more than just what the others are doing. And I've seen the kind of impact that you guys are doing. So I just want to congratulate you guys on that.
Thank you.
So that's a good point. And just to kind of go off of that, the work that you do to support the rights for artists, writers, protecting their intellectual property and creativity both here and in Jamaica. As someone who spends a lot of time in Jamaica and works there, how has the hurricane impacted the industry, and why is an event like this so important to help restore Jamaica?
Yes, good question. It's a really good thing to have these, because I think at the time when it first happened, everyone was rallying around, but it's kind of died down a bit, and we need to be consistent with this. So this is a major thing, but in terms of how it's impacted artists and the creative ecosystem overall, in terms of a lot of my clients who are based in Kingston, they've got family in those areas. So now the economic and financial space that they're in goes into a lot of the rebuilding for themselves, for the family, you know. So it's taken away from their music creation, which then, how do then go on to make a new song? Because they don't no longer have the finances to do that, because they're putting it into rebuilding for their family. So I think that's where we also have a gap, whereas in the UK we've got PRS who will go out and help writers with any kind of issues in that space where you can have financial help, grants, funds. We don't necessarily have that in Jamaica. You can't go to an institution and say, okay, I need a grant and a fund to help me with this, let me write up this application. It's very minimal. So having things like this can also give back, I think is key. And if we can consistently do this, I think it's a great step.
And to add as well, like, people, I think, when they think about the damage from Hurricane Melissa, they think about houses being gone and people not having food. Do you know how expensive instruments are? Studio equipment. Those things, and that's in GBP, not even in JMD, because it gets crazy. So they already don't have the accessibility to spaces like ICMP, spaces like ELAM, spaces that, you know, you can just go, like, even in King's Cross, we'll have they have 2 different pianos in King's Cross, but people just go play. That's content, can make something. No one's charging them to use that piano, you know, like, they could just go do it. But when your grand piano has just been like to shreds because of a hurricane, you've got to prioritize food, shelter. I don't know, enough artists have said they're not able to make music right now, and they don't know, like, for the foreseeable, they're going to the other side of the island to just buck their friend because in Kingston certain things weren't damaged, but they're not from there. Yeah. Like, so again, that's like, it's a whole shift. So their life has changed. They have to alter that now, make allowances to make time to make music when that's still not necessarily priority, but that's their rite of passage, and that's what they got to do to make money. So yeah,
even one extra this year didn't go to Jamaica as we usually do in February. And one of the things that I said to the management team, and even though there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy in stations like that, you've got to think about health and safety. And when they decided that we wasn't going to go at that time, I was saying to them, if you really understand about culture, and we all like to hold on to this word culture, you would understand that people were probably bargaining on a little thing coming in February, and that little thing never come, and they're probably telling their people over the other side of the island, no worry yourself, SEANI and BBC, them soon come, so we can't fix the roof and this, that, the other. So it's little things like that that really affect Jamaica after the hurricane. So when I saw Usain Bolt saying now Jamaica is open, that was such a powerful message to make people know, say, yo, it was that section of the island, the rest of the island is open, and this contributes in fixing that part of the island.
I'd like to add, we're here because of obviously the seminar where we are obviously trying to raise more awareness, not just on the impact on the hurricane. We've had Ivan, we've had like Heavy Beryl, Gilbert. One thing I can say in a positive way about the hurricane, if I can say, my father's from St. Elizabeth, so he was absolutely decimated. He does chicken farming, all sorts. It's all gone down. The mental it has on people out there, it's no wonder artists can't write or play, because when you go to a studio, you're automatically plugged in to make music to please your people. But how can you please your people when surely we know one of the parts where music is tested and pushed against the people, and the people embrace it and they make the songs a hit, is way out in the country. The country part, although Kingston wasn't really affected by it, but it does have a mental strain. And again, in terms of the financial impact, it has a knock-on effect because people's family members are there, a lot of strain on your own personal finance, and again the mental strain. So the good thing I can say, as I was alluding to at the beginning, sometimes out of these situations, good comes. Because I don't know if you feel it like myself. I love the music down to the ground. I mean, it's my business, but I do love it. And I have noticed that we get to a point, it happened before when Ivan happened, like in the early 90s, mid 90s, and going on, no, 2000, around 2000, it was around that time.
Wasn't it after the Cartel and Ninja Man clash?
Yeah, there was
changed. When the music was so dark, but then after that it changed.
It just changes the mood, and you know the people them say, sorry, my friend, I don't hear no fuckery anymore. And what you find comes out of I only can speak about Jamaica in this part, is the music does change. We flip a script, and some of the negative songs, which were obviously making kids a lot of money, and it was helping them and their family and their community, the trapping songs, the scamming songs, the dung in your throat song, them songs will still go on. But I'm just saying, you just find that the music kind of bends a corner slightly when things like that has happened. So hopefully, this is just our hope for all of us here. We're in this because we love it, but we all have a business part to maintain, that it does steer the music away. And as we spoke about from the start of the panel, how influential this music is. If we stop having influence on America, if we stop having influence on the UK, it's perilous time. So we have to keep that influence. We have to be that music, that rebellious music, because Jamaica is rebellious music. Is the people them speak about, speak truth to power. We've always known that from day one. If we stop that, there will be no future. So for the future of the music, and as I said, it's just my hope that Melissa, she's changed a few things going forward.
Question, Robbo, do you feel the way you feel like rhythm is like a result off the back of like the whole hurricane? Because I remember speaking to Mac, and he said that he had that rhythm from before, and then he wanted to drop it, but he held off, and it was like the people that were in a different frame of mind, and then he wanted to inject that happiness, and when he dropped it, it was like blam.
So George's talking about that WYFL rhythm, which is the go-to rhythm. I'm sure Jadiga can find 2 bars for it too. It's the go-to rhythm. But to me, it's just another dancehall beat. And that's how dancehall was. We still play tracks. All of us here, we still playing dancehall from the 80s. Those things can't get taken out of your radio show, your podcast. Even if you're making a TV commercials, it was 5446. Is currently one of the biggest tracks on television as a government messaging, and it's Toots and the Maytals. This stuff could never come out. So it's important that the time we're in and things that's happening this time affects the music. WYFL surely wouldn't be a big rhythm now if it wasn't for Melissa, because people would be still doing the same thing. Me, my crew. It's opened up Skipper, it's opened up Valiant, it's opened up so many young artists on it, and then the veterans like Anthony B, Buju Banton, and we start seeing a synergy again. So it may not be the perfect way of joining the music, but that's just one example, the power of Melissa.
This was like connected, but not necessarily to Robbo's final point, but more so to Shawnee's as well. Yeah, just going back to when you said like they were waiting on you for BBC One. Like there's people that would have been waiting on you. Like no, they're gonna come. They're coming. Like I remember Armani came to the office, and this is why it's important to push for representation and be bigging up your culture. If it's true to you and you know that that's something you're willing to like take, the horns and just take it to the end with, then yeah. But if you know it's like it's performative and you're not really with it, no bother with it. Yeah. So I made sure that dancehall artists, like all types of local Caribbean artists, and this is some of the work I do with Keisha as well, have a space. Like always, if you're in the UK, come down. I want to teach how to use a platform. So he came and he was talking about his plans. Mine and his birthday are a few days apart, but we have a couple of years upon him still. Just 2. 12. So just don't look like that. But yeah, so he came through, and then it was literally, I think it was the day before Melissa hit. Like it was literally like the day before. Yeah, he came to the office the day before, and I remember I'm a no meeting Mondays type babe. I'm like, I have my boundaries. Me and my therapist speak about that, and I don't go against it, because you have to protect I and I, innit? Yeah. Right. So he came, and I was like, I'm gonna do the meeting. Few people them. I'm going to do the meeting. So I came to the office, had good energy, and it was just solemn. It was eerie in there. Melissa hadn't even hit yet. And we were talking about his, like, when his album's going to drop. And he's like, oh, it's due to drop. And I think it was initially, like, slated for the end of October. But he pushed it. He was like, me and him was there with his label people as well, and they were like, yeah, like it's this, and me and him are looking at each other like, is it like
they don't get it, they don't know,
but this is
wrong time.
But this is the thing. So then we had like an open conversation. I was like, well, if like I'm not sure when Melissa's gonna hit, if it's gonna be like tonight, tomorrow, whatever, but I don't think. We gotta be sensitive. This is not a time, and he's from Kingston, so but he's obviously got family everywhere, like all of us do.
He's from my place.
Yeah,
from St Andrew.
Oh yeah. Same. My mum's from Papine, so literally, like we were talking about it, and he's not far from where my mum grew up. Yeah, like his house, literally, and we were just like, yeah. Me and him had a couple conversations there, and he's like, yeah, I don't think so. So it's like there's so many people affected. His labels, from North America, they don't even with the proximity, they don't get it. So it's like you have to have people. So if you're in a position to help influence like those changes, those and challenge those conversations that have been happening when you know something is just not right. It weren't sitting with either of us. We know it's a hard conversation. Money's on the line, not his money. Their money's on the line. Do you know what I'm saying? But also it ends up being his money that's on the line. So you just, it's just like those difficult things that are happening. Like there's a trauma with when this needs to be changed. Can he talk to his label about those things out of fear of getting dropped and then being like, okay, well, you're not serious. Do you know what I'm saying? So big conversations are being had, and just so many people aren't aware of how deep some of these conversations actually go.
Yeah, I do remember him coming in for the interview around the same time, and the mood was a bit mad. One of them ones. I don't know why I laughed, because it wasn't funny. No. But the point I wanted to make to your question was why these things are important. Big up to the AAA and the Hakeem and the team and Robbo and the family. These things are important because you need to keep beating the drum. We have short attention focus. We're a wider community. There are other communities that interact with the community that need constant reminding. And we need to constantly remind ourselves, and we also need to keep in our minds that this is a long-term thing. It's almost like, and I hate to say this, but it's almost like true. It's almost like a hurricane in the Caribbean is a bit of entertainment for some of us who are not actually in the Caribbean like that. So, hurricane this, hurricane that. It's got another mad name. Do you know what I mean? And it's important for these kind of platforms to ensure that the wider community in the UK, i.e. the African community, etc., all feel like we're involved and we're a part of this thing, and we can all stand up for each other's traumas, if you like. So we need to be there. It's amazing to see the Ghanaian and Nigerian community give back as strongly for the Jamaican community, even if it just means going to the rave, buying the ticket, buying the t-shirt, whatever. We just need to keep empowering ourselves like that, because I think the British diaspora or the UK diaspora or the London diaspora, our thing is very strong. It's very separate. Do you know what I mean? We can actually make massive influence to the local regions back home. So to answer the question, I feel so that's why these things are super important.
I just wanted to add to that is that many of us live in the community and live in the culture. Many people that we work with just work in the culture. When they leave the office at 5 o'clock, they don't go to where we go to. So they don't understand about, when people are chatting about donations and all the rest of it, I'm like, I've been donating all the days of my life. You got Western Union on your phone? Have you got MoneyGram on your phone? You get what I'm saying? Like, we live in this 24/7. It's real life for us.
Yeah, and sometimes we're also kind of, we can point our fingers at ourselves. Our face is pushed up against the glass. So sometimes we can't even see through it because we're so blurred. But what Ras said was really important about messaging. I'll say this till I die. You have to control your narrative. I've worked a long enough in media. And before I was in media, Me I talk. You must control the narrative. We're all playing our part, as even you as fans of the music, but you have to speak out. And there's ways sometimes that riles people up. And Shorty was right. Some of the ladies that I've seen in the industry have been a breath of fresh air. Sometimes I could like today, Chloe, God them. It's sometimes we need they're taking the pressure off us.
Facts.
They see me walk in the room and they say, oh, he's Robbo, he's yeah, I'm hard.
Facts.
I'm hard. Because my narrative stays the same. I'm a sizzler. Me a Capleton, me a Muta Baruka, me a Bunty, I'm that person. But the narrative stays the same. And I was taught by those same people, you must keep the narrative the same. So these conversations that we're having here today, you won't hear none of these people on the panel change their talk. It'll be the same talk. And you may see us in 10 years' time, it will be the same talk. Success or failure, it's the same talk. So echoing what Ras said, we need to do more of this, and we must control the narrative. And social media is a wonderful thing in some cases. It's the devil in another way. But that's the thing. Instead of you posting crap about the culture, oh, Wayne Wonder and Budget Banton is having a kickoff. Wow. Let's talk about positive things that are happening in the music. Positive things like writing seminars and how to treat artists when they walk in the room, where they're not used to certain climates and certain cultures, how to guide them through a room. These are the things we need to talk about. So we'll do our part, but you yourself got to do your part as well.
And I was going to add to that as well, yeah, like, there's different forms of activism in it. Like, don't think everything looks like a march outside or whatever. Just like look at what you're able to impact and what you're able to do. And I say that to say, yeah, I remember when Melissa hit, most of my family's in Jamaica. If they're not in Jamaica, they're in New York, but still it's like a good 75% in Jamaica. And I just remember it was just so like it was gloomy. Like I felt like I was in mourning, and none of my family passed. But it just was like a communal mourning. Like it was a horrible dark energy, big dark cloud, and it was fairly bright outside, but it was just very dark. I felt very like helpless. And I was thinking, what can I do? What can I do? I was donating here, there, everywhere. I was thinking, wait, please not tell me the government website or Babylon thing as well, please. Like, which one's verified? Which one can I do? Like, what can I do? What can I say? These times I'm giving money to family as well. When I found out you could actually fly over there, I was like, instead of me spending 1-1 right now to go out there, let me use that and just get them, because I know what that's going to do on the flip side. Like, I could go out there, what if my too long empty hand and do, and yeah, I could pick up stuff, but there's people out there picking up stuff. They need money, they need food, they need this. So knowing what they could do there. And then I was up, one of my colleagues said, oh, like, what's going on? Like, you're not your usual, like, bubbly self. I lied, I'm not actually shy, guys, sorry. Like, you're not your usually, like, loud, bubbly self. I was like, yeah, because this is happening. They're like, oh my gosh, like, what can we do? And I was like, them need money. So you can get money. She's like, yeah, of course. I set up a Just Giving page so fast, and between me and like the London office, they donated £600, and I sent that to Food for the Poor, and we did like 3 big like boxes of food, and work paid for it. It was not like it was, and I was just like, wow, all you got to do sometimes, like. But true, I didn't even ask. Like, she just was like, what's going on? And I was like, I'm worried, can't get through to some people. I know like they need food, they need money. Like, I just don't even know what to do. Like, I feel like I'm giving so much money, but I don't even know what impact it's making. And I feel helpless, and they just helped me.
Yeah.
So sometimes just talking.
It is talking, and I think it's also important to think about legacy, what we want our legacy to be individually, but also as a collective, as a people, because there's a legacy that's been placed on us in terms of our foundation and our ancestors, and we have a responsibility to carry that legacy on. So yeah, we are running out of time, and so we're going to open the floor for a quick Q&A. But I just want to thank my esteemed panel. You guys are fantastic. If you haven't already followed them, please follow them, find them on their social medias, connect with them. These are the movers and shakers of the industry, and you do not want to miss out on the things that they're doing. Please connect with them. So we're going to open the floor for Q&A. And
a question I have to you all is, my name's Khadija. I'm originally from Bristol, but I work in London and Bristol. So I work across the creative sectors. I work in the charity sector. Recently, the last few months, I've been working in Bristol for a CIC, and it's about empowering Black and global majority artists, giving them the education and the business side. So my question to you really is, how do we connect the dots on a regional level as well? Because I know there's a lot of things going on in London and across many of the other, cities. But I guess, I know you work for One Extra, for example, but how can we kind of connect more and bring in, I'm definitely going to connect you, Joel, by the way, because Bristol, we need you guys. But I also, as I said, I do some work in London also. So I'm just wondering how we how do we connect that diaspora, the regional?
I can start on that.
Yeah.
And I suppose moving on from, or adding to the activation part that you were saying, that whilst I'm more working at the BBC, I see it as a responsibility that I have, because you pay for your license fee, yeah? So I have a responsibility to work for you within inside that building. So I am your voice within inside that building. So when it was a Jamaica situation, there's again with BBC, red tape, bureaucracy, this, that, the other, when it comes to charities and all the rest of it. But my thing was about awareness. So knowing how much One Extra, the BBC, benefits from Jamaica, and we've seen all the great videos that we've been doing over the years, it's like, how are we going to help? So it was about that conversation, and we went up and down the country to be able to highlight what everybody else was doing. So on that one day, I was in Brixton, I was in Leeds, I was in Birmingham as well, all in one day, speaking to different people, doing different activations up and down the country. So that's the way that I try to use the platform that I've got to make sure that the money that you spend every year is kind of represented in the right and proper manner.
Look, to be honest with you, that is quite a challenge, the regional thing. And I think we just all have to work harder at it, if I'm being honest with you. If you haven't got the BBC resource like Shawnee's got, we just have to keep pushing and working and DM the person and then DM you back and then you try again next week. That's what it is, fam. If it's not places like this where we can all do the networking thing, it's just a hustle. And fortunately, the music we're in, it's been a hustle from morning. So we just have to continue that and just spread that awareness and that message and vibe and just try and interconnect. And you have to tell the local promoter, say, Robbo, Ranx, and SEANI, be and Ras Kwame, then we come over there, so then we do our thing and then we linger and so on and so forth. We have to build as a community. We have to invest and build, and that's it. We can't wait for people to do it for us. It's not going to happen any other way. We just have to just get up and just do it and try our hardest, as the people before us did. Do you know what I mean? That's it for me.
Yeah, I echo everything that's been said. It's about intention as well. I was at the Mobos and I literally said that I need to be more intentional about being regional with things. So even if there's a way that I can make a songwriter camp that's in a Bristol or a Manchester, I'm open to those ideas, but it's all about collaboration, because you will have the network in that space. So let's connect.
Yeah, I was about to say to you, the price of petrol is going up, so M4 corridor is not one. All right. No, the connecting is something that I think we have done, we've been doing for a long, long time. My connection, like even with Bristol, it was a joy to come down to Bristol in July to the carnival and meet the people, go to St. Paul's and what have you. And it's somewhat, social media has broken down communities and that connection with communities. But you really have to, we used to call it flat foot. You didn't have to just flat foot and do this thing. We used to bring our music, as DJs, we used to bring our music on a van. On a van. Travel down the motorway, Bristol, put your stuff back on the van. For some of you, I don't want to sound too old here. It was called sound system culture. It's still prevalent. So we used to carry the music. We used to go to Bristol and play my alternate dub plates. What Keisha Daddy give me? Keisha Daddy, yeah? Keisha. So we used to do all of that stuff, and it was about just getting on the road. You have to get on the road. Sit around with your social media and your apps and looking for who you can hit up with the blue tick. I don't care if I got a blue tick up. You got to get on the road. You got to get on it. You got to do it. You've got to, you know, you want to connect with people. Like, look, you're from Bristol. You're the only person in the house I know who's from Bristol, and you're saying, listen, we want some. There you go. You can connect. Keisia's here. And that's what it's about. You just have to get up and do it. It's not about, the apps are fantastic and they're wonderful and they're great and all of those things. But real life communication, real life conversation is where it's really at. And if we get caught up too far down the line, trying to preserve reggae, Jamaican culture on social media, out of here with that, man. It's not gonna work. You're gonna get out there. So flat foot.
The only thing I'd add is being audacious. You have to be audacious, because that's the only thing that's gonna. I'd send, yeah, like, I know the DM thing can be a bit techy, yeah, but if you know the email format for something, just say you're invited to come to your office in Bristol, to come to your space, to meet you and what you do. When people say you're invited, they're like, what? Another watch? Whoa, me, I gotta get my Sunday best. But you see what I'm saying? So just be audacious and be like, I'm from Bristol, like you did today, and you need to come to Bristol to teach people what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, trust me, that's what, when in the early stages, that's how I met so many people.
Definitely.
Yeah, see, you just have to have audacity.
Yeah, because even for me, I come from a journalistic background, and I've been working in journalism for big publications for a very long time, over 15 years. And I used to get bored. I used to be like, this is not for me. I need to do my own thing. I'm smarter than half of these people in here. That none of you look like me. So I was like, yeah, I need to start my own thing. And so everybody here, we're all creatives, we're all people that are doing things, as you mentioned, kicking down doors, creating your own spaces, protecting your intellectual property. But guys, I want to say thank you very, very, very much. Please give a big hand for the panel. They're incredible.
The donations are urgent. Gig money is instant. But what infrastructures do we have to put in place so that the long money gets back to Jamaica?
I would say, Bernard, the infrastructure's been there already. It's the connectivity. It's the conversations that you hear Keisia bringing to you. These people are on the ground there in Jamaica like 4 times a year. Do you know, I'm sure he's in there 6 times a year. Me, I'm still only doing 1 a year now. Don't like the traveling. But the foundations are there. This event was supported by Sean's charity. Sean is... Bamson will tell you, Sean Paul is one of the most genuine people you could meet in the industry. So down to earth. His charity was open. He was out there doing his thing. Yeah, people do it for social clout as well, but he was doing his thing. Food for the Poor is out there. So the infrastructure has been there long ago. And again, I go back to the narrative. Sometimes people shape narratives about Jamaica like it's, you can't go there. People talk about Nigeria like you nah, you can. It's a wonderful place. You hear the music coming out. How can it not be? How can it not be? Hear the sounds coming out of these places. How can it not be? So connections, using the social media tools, having the conversations, linking up with people. There's a part of every industry where people hustle. But there are honest people out there. I suggest, you be bold and make those connections. That's how it's done. That's how we all came through the same. Everybody on this panel, they speak with strength. They're bold. That's what you got to be.
And I think to answer your long-term question, it's like continuing to control the narrative and not stopping on the donations. Like, this is not just overnight type thing. Keep it going. Like, keep investing in, keep supporting, keep like reminding people what's happened. This is the most tragic hurricane that's ever happened. So, yeah, just keeping it going.
I think accountability as well. Just keep an eye on that money that is going out there, making sure that it's going to the right places. And we're seeing what the results are. I think the more that we can see the results, the more people feel enlightened to give a little bit more as well.
What does Jamaican music and culture represent to you, especially after something like Hurricane Melissa?
Strength, resilience. I think that's the key word, especially when we was on the Jamrock cruise. That one word just kept on coming up all the time. resilience, 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 resilience. When you think about Jamaican people, Caribbean people on a whole, black people on a whole, we're the most resilient people in the world. So for me, that's the word that I hold close, very close to heart.
Yeah, for me, I would say legacy, and just reminding ourselves of where our roots are. And although some of us are British-born Jamaicans, our home is there, and just reconnecting with that. You know, like for me, I got my Jamaican citizenship because I thought it was important. It was important for me to reconnect, especially with the things that I want to do back home. And I got my sons as well. My son's the same age as you. And so he has a relationship with Jamaica that some of his friends doesn't have. And he has an understanding and a closeness to connect with Jamaica. So, yeah, for me, it's legacy. But yeah, guys, we are out of time for the Q&A section.
I just want to say, did you say you're selling your Jamaican passport? I can't get my one. Marie says she knows.
Never.
Listen, take her advice.
Leave me blue book.
Listen, people, take her advice, you know, and it's not even a Jamaican thing. If you can get yourself a passport that is not just with the GB stamp on it, you need those things because it's getting really critical. And just to add to what the panel's saying, it's about dynamism, it's about resilient, and we're brilliant. So, and we've got some brilliant artists to work as well. So, okay. Thank you.